Welcome back to the Talent Table. We have a very important discussion today. We are going to talk about belonging in the workplace. According to Cultural AMP, belonging is defined as the feeling of security and support when there is a sense of acceptance, inclusion, and identity for a member of a certain group or place. It's this basic, fundamental drive to form and maintain lasting, positive, and significant relationships with others. One, at the workplace, these relationships can be extended to the organization and its values, or to the work itself. Furthermore, Deloitte states belonging is creating an environment that fosters psychological safety, where workers feel safe to speak up, make mistakes, and be themselves without fear of punishment or judgment. We're going to get into it today. Joining the conversation today are some Talent Table fan favorites. We have Sorpia Lamb and Edgar Butler. And a new guest, Jennifer Gault. Welcome to the Talent Table, guys. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us.
All right.
Okay, guys. So Harvard Business Review conducted a poll around belonging, and I was super interested in the findings. Would you guys believe that high belonging has been shown to increase job performance by 56%, reduce turnover risk by 50%, and decrease sick days by 75%? Therefore increasing productivity and revenues? Edgar, I'd just love to know, what do you think belonging means for you in the workplace, and why is it so critical that organizations get it right more than ever today?
Thanks, Christy. I really believe for the success of any organization, especially in the current environment that we have right now, inclusivity is something that has to be at the forefront. No one organization has it all together, and there's no one person within an organization that has all the answers. From the greatest CEO on down, it was all the companies, the great companies that we see, is built on the individuals that are within those organizations. And so I think it's important to make sure that everyone's, being heard and being valued, and not only just saying that, yes, you are being heard and being valued, but encouraging people to come up with ideas and to be able to share those ideas and be able to express themselves. I think that's the important piece of the belonging aspect when I hear that term. Well, just making sure that not only is it, yes, your voice is being heard, but encouraging me to share my voice, to share my ideas. And I think that's really what's going to help any organization continue to push forward into the forefront and be successful, is based on the ideas of every individual within that organization, the inclusivity of every individual in that organization, and making sure that everyone's feeling heard and valued in order for them to contribute to the success of the company. So that's my idea of it. I want to throw it to Jennifer and see if she has some additional thoughts.
Thanks, Edgar. Organizations have to get it right, because the organizations that get it right are going to have the people that want to be on their team. And I like to think of work as sports. There's a lot of great analogies there. So in team sports, you feel like you belong when you get your official shirt and your jersey and you get your number and you're like, oh, I'm on the team. But if organizations really want people to stay and play with heart on their team and play hard for the team, they need to make sure the teammates feel that they matter and that they make a difference by being a part of the team. So, if organizations help us feel like we belong because they care about us, then we're going to care about the organization. And that's critical for success.
All right, awesome. Thank you both for sharing. So you hear the word belonging a lot now. It's like something that's being thrown around and it's tied in with diversity and inclusion. So I want to bring it in with diversity and inclusion. We have a lot of quotes today, mind you. So we're going to be reading some quotes today. We did some research on the Talent Table, and I'm not going to put my glasses all the way on because, that's what we're not going to do. So also, according to a study by Cultural AMP, they stated, we found this to be true regardless of a person's gender, ethnicity, age group, or sexual orientation. Moreover, the correlation between belonging and engagement was markedly, okay, there we go, stronger for historically underrepresented groups. While diversity and inclusion are important metrics in their own right, there is evidence to suggest that a focus on belonging can most helpfully frame inclusion initiatives in the workplace. So when we're talking about belonging in correlation with underrepresented groups, can any of you tell me about when you experienced a work environment where you didn't feel as though you belonged, or you didn't feel this quote unquote belonging?
Hey, Elena, I appreciate that question, and I just want to share my perspective on that. So, being an Asian American in corporate America, for one, the US population of AAPIs, we're only about 6% of the US population. So I'm pretty sure within State Farm, I am the only Sorpia, usually in a lot of spaces, within my work environments or, professional spaces that I've occupied. I've been one of very few, Asian Americans that have been part of that segment or part of that group, and not necessarily that has been a bad experience for me, because usually, when I find myself in those spaces, I like to take them as opportunities to educate anybody, in order to create awareness, again, reinforce that social capital and get people to kind of, maybe see my unique perspective, or maybe things that might be specific to me, right? Cultural nuances where maybe others might not have understood. And again, reinforcing that kind of inclusive, work environment. But like I said, with AAPIs only making up about 6% of the US population, the number in corporate America is quite lower, actually. So if you did like a survey of all of the upper leadership, executive leadership within, Fortune 500 companies, AAPIs only make up about 1% of the executive leadership group for all Fortune 500 companies. We are the least likely group to be promoted into management. So when we talk about underrepresented groups, within the workplace, inherently I feel that, not because that I'm experiencing something negatively, but again, because a lot of times in those spaces, I am the only, Asian American woman sometimes. And so again, for me, like I said, I try to turn that into a positive and not necessarily, say that I don't feel that like I belong, but use that as an opportunity to share my experiences and share what it is that I have to offer. So that's kind of, again, just my perspective in dealing with, working in an environment where I might not be part of the majority, right? But again, I think that it's a moving target, right? We're not gonna, hey, we're gonna hire so many AAPIs and then boom, diversity and inclusion will check. It's a moving target. It's something that we have to consistently reinforce. And, kind of to your point earlier, I think we all have a responsibility to move that pendulum, keep it swinging and move it forward. And I also just want to share, kind of similar to what Jennifer alluded to, is that if we're made to feel like we're valued and our, perspectives are meaningful contributions, I think I would be more inclined to do my best, to put my best foot forward, within my professional role, but I think that belonging really does kind of create, motivation for you to want to do your best because, you feel that you're valued.
Sorpia, I so can relate to what you're saying too. And thanks for sharing that. As a member of the invisible disability community, I understand that what you talked about, being comfortable, it's so important. And some things that really an inclusive environment has impacted me for is the fear of not getting to play if somebody found out that I had an invisible disability. And I know it's another sports reference, but I mean, like I want to be on that field. And so there is a fear of, wow, if people find out this about me, or if I do stand out as different in this way that makes people want to shy away or makes people not as comfortable, then I may not get to play, and then I won't feel like I belong because I won't feel like I'm contributing to the team. So I think just, companies making it, just providing a space where it's okay to be who you are, still can really make you feel part of the team. Don't have to play the fastest, but like I've always been scared of being the weak link on the team because I have an invisible disability, and there's just an assumption that I'm not going to be able to do as much. So I probably overcompensate for that and raise my hand to do everything. But yeah, thanks for sharing your story too.
Thanks, Jennifer. I think that is so important too, to point out the invisible things that we don't see, and just making sure that we're including everybody when we want to go out and play on that team, because everybody does want to be part of the team, and just helping them to be feel welcomed is really important. Another quote, according to Garner, 3 ways to cultivate belonging in your workplace initiatives that drive inclusion. Companies really should eliminate outsiderness and make everyone responsible for achieving D&I goals day to day, and demonstrate care through benefits and different initiatives. And I wholeheartedly agree that D&I is everyone's job. So Edgar, I'm wondering, like, in your experience, are there other things that organizations can do to foster an environment of belonging?
Yeah, I think they really need to put a microscope on it, and not just let it be talk. One of the things that really helped me within my career was a leader. I was actually new to the role in leadership, actually in a temporary leadership role. And I was in a meeting and with other experienced leaders, and I'm just taking it all in at that time, and just felt like, okay, I don't really know my place here. I don't know, like, where does my voice fit in? And so the meeting's going by, and I hadn't really said anything. And one of my mentors leaned over discreetly and tapped me, and she said, "Speak up. Like, your voice belongs in this room. That's why you're here." And at that time, like, she didn't know it, but that empowered me to let me know that it doesn't matter about the experience, the tenure. Your voice matters. Your voice carries weight, regardless of what room you're in. So just from that piece of encouragement, she made a deliberate effort to not only just say, "Hey, everybody come in," and, "Hey, we want to hear from everyone." She made a deliberate effort at that point to make sure that I let my voice be heard. And so I think I take that same approach from that microcosm of an event. That really should be how we look at it from an organizational standpoint, to encourage everyone to make sure that you're sharing your ideas, regardless of what you think somebody else may think of them. This is a safe space within this organization, and we want to hear from you. So that encouragement of letting everyone feel like you have a place here, your voice matters within this organization, I think that is something that needs to be at the forefront. And that's why I say I think we need to make sure that it is put a microscope on it. Don't just let it be talk. Don't let it just be a buzzword. Don't let it just be something that is exciting for the year or because it's hot right now. But if you really want that to become a part of your organization's culture, it really needs to have a microscope put on it, and it needs to be something that is pushed and encouraged and championed, and something that has a stake within the organization's foundation.
I really like that response. Thanks, Edgar. And trying to get your voice in the room, that's totally something that affects me too, like just wanting to be quiet in conversations where others are maybe more accomplished or experienced, right? So just making sure that you are still there, and you are important too. Sorpia, do you have anything to add on to that?
I totally agree with Edgar's sentiment. I think, and as Elena said, I think that we all have a responsibility to create that belonging within the workplace, but also to push diversity and inclusion forward. And sometimes part of that is not you taking action, but as Edgar said, amplifying the voice of others, right? Maybe somebody's better suited to, speak on a topic or bring awareness to a topic where I might not be, right? But as, it is my duty to kind of push forward and progress in terms of D&I. Amplifying that person's voice might be the best action that I can take regarding that. And again, that's, I said it before, reinforcing that social capital, bringing awareness and understanding, to large groups of people. So that way, they can understand where, these specific nuances that might impact a certain group of people. But I also, just in transparency too, why I think belonging is so important in the workplace. I think that we all have gone through it at some period of time, where the mental taxation from having to code switch because we feel like we don't belong. I think that's a very real thing. There are a lot of times and spaces where I'm having to kind of dial myself back to say that, maybe I have to minimize myself in order to fit in with this group, in order to be heard, in order to be seen. So I think that part of kind of, again, creating that sense of belonging is really going to impact your employees in a positive way. It's going to drive that engagement. And it's also just going to really serve to create like better work quality, more efficient employees, more engaged employees, more enthused employees. Happy employees do the best work, right? I don't know if that's an old, phrase, but I might have just made that up, but I'm pretty sure, I don't know the science behind it, but happier employees, make for better work. So, that's kind of just the importance of making everybody feel like they belong.
Sophia, you said something there that that really stuck out to me. The piece about code switching, right? And that's something that I think from a minority standpoint, that's something that we felt like we've had to do. The interesting thing, though, I think right now in this is that we talk about bring your whole self to work, right? And that's a term that we hear a lot. But have we really gotten to the point to where we feel that way, that we can truly be ourselves? We can truly express who we are within, the workspace. And some look at it as, okay, well, are you expressing yourself in a way that's professional? Well, who deemed the professional, right? What is the parameter on that? And so I think we're still at a point to where the term is out there, bring your whole self to work, but I don't think we've gotten to that place yet. And I know some individuals may feel like, yes, I feel that I can bring my whole self to work. So I think it's twofold within that. One is from an organizational standpoint of, do we feel comfortable? From is the environment created for us to be able to bring our whole self to work? And then for two, do we feel comfortable within ourselves to bring our whole self to work, to be truly who I am? And so I like to tell people, this is me 24 hours a day. This is Edgar in the grocery store, at the football game, in corporate, on college campus, wherever you see me at, this is going to be me. But I think there's going to come a point in time, though, depending on the room that I may be in, does the real Edgar still come out? If I'm sitting in a room with executives, is this still Edgar? Is the conversation still the same? And so I can't necessarily say that that's truly what it would be, because I haven't been at the round table with the board of directors yet, right? I would love to have that opportunity to be able to see, how would you? Because going back to that previous story that I told, I do feel like my voice matters, but would it be the same voice in the room with executives as it would be with first line leaders and team members? I don't know.
That's good. That's good. And I think what's important here and what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, I wish I had a quote, but I don't. So what the difference is now in the climate is the workforce, or we as employees, are demanding that we show up as our whole selves, authentic selves at work. So challenge for organizations is going to be, what are you going to do about it? So I'm glad that we brought a lot of this conversation, a lot of these dynamics to the table. Thank you all for sharing your story. I leave you with one question. We tapped on it just a bit. So we talk about how are organizations responsible for creating this new culture, this term belonging. Belonging is something I talked about kind of offline, I felt that I didn't always fit into different cultural settings, whether it's because I'm, from an underrepresented group, minority woman. I have a strong personality, not because I'm a Black woman. I have a strong personality as a woman. So organizations, we talked about what they're accountable for. We also talked a little bit about how can we help others support a sense of a belonging, because what you said in the beginning, Edgar, is the CEO, no matter how fabulous he or she or them are, the organization is made up of individuals. So how can we as individuals, how are we accountable for ensuring that others feel a sense of belonging? We'd like to hear some thoughts on that before we close out.
Hey, I've got some thoughts on that. We just, as an individual, we have to put it on ourselves to be open, and we have to seek opportunities where we are putting ourselves in the path of learning and hearing new perspectives. We have to show up for others continually to learn. And then once we are hearing and learning, we also have to give back and share support, be advocates for others. But it is a give and take. And just like Edgar was mentioning earlier, I have to be my authentic self, which is awkward sometimes, so that others can be their authentic selves And that is the safety of that environment. And so it does require that we challenge ourselves.
All right, Christy, any final thoughts?
No, I just think it's really important in kind of going back to your last question, if you're in a situation like making sure that others are being comfortable or are comfortable to express their own thoughts and bringing them along in the journey too. So if you're in a place where people are really listening to your opinion and really valuing your opinion, but you feel like others in the room aren't being offered that same grace, then opening it up for them, like bring them along in that journey too, and make the space for them too. So that's just a thought for me. I appreciate the conversation today.
All right, awesome. It's been great. I wish we could continue to talk, but we are at the mercy of our viewers' attention span. So thank you all for coming. Edgar, Sorpia, Jennifer, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. It's been an important conversation and a very insightful one. As usual, Talent Table, tune in on YouTube, LinkedIn, you know where to find us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks all. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.